Today we're learning Ode to Joy, and we're going to learn to do this by reading tabs. Tabs are often commonly used to help know where to place your fingers to play melodies or riffs. What you're looking at when you're looking at tabs is 4 lines like this, which are representing your strings G, C, E, A. Now to many people they look like they're flipped upside down. However, if you look down at your ukulele, that's pretty much what you're looking at with tab. You're looking at G closest to you, C, E, A. So G down the bottom, A at the top. A also happens to be the highest sounding note. And traditionally in music, we write notes higher when they sound higher. So that's the strings. Then the numbers. Just like reading a book or a sentence or a word, we read from left to right. The numbers are indicating which fret to play on which string. So in Ode to Joy, you can see that we start with the number 0 on the A string. So string closest to our toes. The 0 means open fret, which is no fingers down at all. Now you can practice just using your thumb for now. And it's important, as I mentioned in our first lesson, to strum down towards your toes and not pluck outwards. Okay? Or you can use your finger, but plucking up so that the string's vibrating up and down, not back and forth. So thumb or fingers. You have 2 zeros in a row. So I play 0, 0 on the A string. We then move up to the number 1, which is fret 1. So open, open, first. You'll notice then that we move up to 3rd fret. You could just use one finger and slide up and down, which is fine when starting out. What you'd like to eventually work towards is using multiple fingers for different frets. So I'm going to suggest using your 3rd finger for the 3rd fret for this one. So open, open, first, 3rd. That's our first bar. The next bar, you have 3, 1, 0, still on the A string. And you'll notice that I kept my first finger here the whole time, because when we make a note, it's shortening the string. So anything that happens between the nut and your finger doesn't matter. So open, open, first, leave it there. 3, 3. Now all I have to do is lift this finger and my first's ready to go. First, open. So really practice that phrase first. From here, you keep your hand hovering. Don't ever tuck your hands away or put them out here, because if you've got your fingers in place, thumb on the back of your neck, it's easier for your fingers just to fall where they need to go. So our next note is the 3rd fret on our E string. And we move down to 1st fret. 1, 1, back to 3, back to our A string. And you'll notice I'm going to leave my fingers here because I only have 2 open strings on my A before I return back to 3. So here we go, first line. If you're not ready yet, that's okay. Have a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our next line repeats the same phrase right up until those last 2 notes. Rather than playing G on the 3rd fret of our E string, we play F, which is the 1st fret of our E string. Third line, you just need to place your 3rd finger back on that 3rd fret. Keep your 1st finger there because you have 3, 3, open, 1st, 3. Now you can see here that the next notes are written close together. So we have open, first, open. The tricky part about tab is that it doesn't always show rhythm. So you do need to listen to a song and use your ear for the rhythm. And for this line, we're using all the notes we've already used, except for an open C, which is the very last note. 3, 3, open, 1, 3, open, 1, open, 1, 3, open, 1, open, 3, 1, 3, open. Now you can hear by saying these numbers, it doesn't indicate which string to play on. which is why it can be really handy to learn your notes as well, where you would say G, G, A, F, G, A sharp A, F, G, A sharp A, G, F, G, C. That's a lot to remember. Don't worry if you don't want to learn notes yet. Many ukulelists don't in the beginning. But if you're interested, it's nice to know. And then our final line is exactly the same as our second line. Now, at this stage, you might play this really slow, looking at your fingers. And that's normal. I'll be going a little bit faster so that you can return to this lesson and keep practicing until you can get right up to speed. So the entire piece. Remember, learning an instrument is a marathon, not a sprint. It's good to take your time, learn things properly, and keep on moving along as you feel confident. Now, you might be wondering why there are chords above this tab. The reason for this is you could play in a duet, so two people, two ukuleles. It could even be a guitar player or a keyboard player that plays the chords instead. Or you could record yourself on the phone and play over the top. For example, F chord, da, da, C chord, da, da, F chord, da, da, C chord, F chord, da, da, C chord, da, da, F chord, da, da, C, then F. That's what that means. Another reason this is good is eventually, maybe not yet, but eventually, you can do something called chord melody, which is where you do a combination of chords and notes. So rather than the number directly below that chord, you could play the chord. So for example, F, open, 1, 3, C, 1, open, 3, F, 1, 3, open, C, 3, 3. That's chord melody in its most basic form. Once again, you have plenty to practice with this video. Take your time, practice as often as you can, and when you're ready, come join me again for our next lesson.